Before you dive into creating any kind of a program or a smart contract in Solana, first you have to understand what does the process entail. So in this video, let's go over the A to Z of the entire process. And just to avoid confusion, you often hear the term smart contract. That's a term that's in the Ethereum world. In the Solana universe, the same thing is referred to as a program. A program might be a staking program. That's one of the most basic and simple programs, or it can be a more complex and unique rewards program that you can create for a unique token to help your token stand out. Now, just like in any other kind of a professional process, before you plow into actually doing it, you have to plan. And you want to plan what are the goals for your program. Usually, the goals have to do with incentivizing investors to begin investing and to stay on as long-term investors. You want to create value for them, enough value so that they invest and then stay. Like I mentioned, one of the most common ways to create such value and the easiest is to create a staking program that's akin to a bank CD, different but somewhat similar, or at least it feels similar. And a more unique program is one where you have some unique feature set that's unique to your token that sets your token apart from others. For example, since you are able to track the transactions on your token, a tiny percentage of each transaction that you might collect as the liquidity provider might go to a cause that you support. For example, if you have a pet-focused token, maybe a tiny percentage of each transaction that you collect as the liquidity provider goes to a pet-related charity. Now, that might make your token unique. And there might be many similar features like that you can program in. So the first thing to do is to plan out your one or many programs that you plan to create to make your token attractive. And that's also really just the next step of taking your token from a meme token, like, oh, you make a Solana token or an Ethereum token, but it's on that blockchain. It shares all the other features of that general blockchain. You need to differentiate. If you don't differentiate, you're just a meme coin. So this is a really important next step to have in your token. Now, once you've got your goals for the program you're going to create, the next thing to understand is the development process. This can be quite tricky. The first thing you have to understand is that there is a test environment in Solana. We're going to talk about Solana mainly in this video. That test environment is called devnet. You can do anything you want on devnet. Solana there is free. It's all for testing and development. This is where you create and test your program. After you are happy with your program, you launch your program on what's called mainnet. This is the live Solana blockchain, the one that's real. And you don't want to launch and relaunch too many times, only when it's necessary, because it's not a trivial cost to go from devnet to mainnet. The fee isn't pennies, it's over 1 Solana. So you want to do extensive development and testing in the test environment before you launch. All software gets relaunched and updated, sure, but because there's an extra fee for this, you want to do extra testing before you launch. So with that in mind, let's dive a little deeper and talk about the technology stack that you have to deal with. Solana programs are written in a language called Rust, and it's accompanied by a number of configuration scripts that you'll have to create. They're usually written in JavaScript or TypeScript. There's also a lot of command line commands you need to understand. This isn't even easy for software engineers. I have a software engineering background, but even me, I would have to learn Rust development, learn a lot of TypeScript and JavaScript, because even though I've used those before, I haven't used those in a way that's required by the Solana ecosystem. It's a little different. And of course, on top of all that, you also need a website with a web interface where users can interact with your program, because users aren't going to interact with your program on the blockchain. They need a web interface where they can press buttons and select they want to opt in, opt out, etc. They're not going to know how to send commands to the blockchain or write their own scripts, right? You can't expect that from them. And so you need your own website where they can do this. If you've staked cryptocurrency before, perhaps on Coinbase or Binance, you've used their web interface. And for large cryptocurrencies, you can use their web interface. But if you have a smaller cryptocurrency, you have to typically create your own because you just cannot stake it through Binance or Coinbase or other large sites like that. Now, because there's a lot of development and a lot of learning, Rust development, your own website, etc., I would strongly recommend you choose a no-code solution. For example, I used Claude AI to write all my code, the Rust code. Similarly with JavaScript and TypeScript, that was all done for me through Claude. And the web application was written by Replit.com, which is a no-code service that lets you create websites. So I did zero coding on my own while developing my own Solana programs. If you want, you have other options. The first option is to learn this on your own. It will take you about 2 to 3 months to learn all of this, maybe longer. It's not a great option. The other option is to hire actual human engineers, which is going to cost you a few $1,000s to develop all this, which is also not an attractive option. So today we are lucky to have Claude AI and Replit. I have basic accounts on both of them, like $20 a month on Replit, $20 a month on Claude AI, which is pretty standard in today's world, especially if you do business or any kind of entrepreneurial work or professional work. It's actually good to have accounts on these just because they do so much for you and boost your productivity, but the cost is essentially near zero. And so with that in mind, let me briefly show you how that all played out. My own website for my Solana-based cryptocurrency is sprktoken.com. As you can see, it's a full-fledged website with all kinds of features, none of which I programmed. This was all done for me by AI through replit.com. And if I go to sprktoken.com/staking, you can see that I can connect my wallet and stake my current cryptocurrency. So if another user came here, they could stake their cryptocurrency. It explains you get a 5% APY, etc., etc. So this page is made by Replit, but as soon as I clicked on select wallet and it actually starts interacting with my wallet, the interactions like staking your cryptocurrency, unstaking, claiming rewards, that's all done through interacting with the blockchain. And that part is done by Rust code that Claude AI wrote for me. Now, just to share with you a little bit of the background on this, I could have done all this with Replit AI, but just in my own personal experience, I found that Claude AI is a little bit better and has fewer bugs when it comes to pure coding and coding business logic. So I did that part in Claude, and then the web interface I did with Replit because it's good at that. But you could just do everything in Replit. But I find that when things get complicated, Replit tends to be a little more buggy. Now, depending on when you watch this ecosystem changes so quickly that what I said may be true now, it might not be true next month. So take it with a grain of salt. It's a rapidly evolving ecosystem. But at the moment, the combination of Claude AI and Replit.com has given me the greatest results. So that's what I used. And essentially, that's the A through Z process. Planning, technical development, understanding the tech stack, and actually using the AI to write all the code for you, deploy all the code, and then getting your users to use your Solana programs.